So, to get things started, thank you for coming. Just a little bit about this evening. My mom was all about family, and we consider everybody here family. This is truly a celebration of life. That can be a cliche sometimes, but not when you get 96 years. 96 years with a lady that lived with her family every day. Got to do her thing, her way for 96 years. This should be a happy moment. So if there's any tears, they're happy tears, they're not sad tears, so let's get that out of the way. And, just to note, my mom, 10 kids, 13 grandchildren. I'm proud to say they're all here. Some from Texas, some from Washington, some from, where else we got them coming in from? Colorado. So, appreciate that. New York, and a few other places. But you guys all mean something to the Glynn family if you're here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my mom and what I think she stood for, and hopefully make her proud as she's looking down from heaven. Does that sound fair? Yep. Okay. So we knew her as Mom. You probably knew her as Betty Glynn. I would tell you a nickname that I thought when you think about your mom when they passed, like what was she? She was the quiet glue. The quiet glue that kept 10 crazy kids and grandkids together. Taught us a lot along the way, but somehow the yin and the yang between her and my dad, they balance each other out very well, and I think she did a pretty good job. Tom Brokaw wrote a book back in the 80s called The Greatest Generation. And the greatest generation was really the men and women of this country that was raised in the 20s, went through the Depression, handled World War II, came back, had birth to millions and millions of baby boomers, and my mom and dad contributed to that pretty well with 10 folks. And when I think about that book and what he talked about on The Greatest Generation, is really talking about people, that really worked hard, had no excuses, leaned into family, did all the right things. And if that's the greatest generation, I would tell you, my mom represented very well as the greatest mom that you could have, and I'm very proud of that. So I was asking my brothers and sisters, you gotta give me one word that describes Mom, because you can't describe a mother. None of us can in this room describe your own mom in one word unless you have 10 kids. We put it all together and maybe we'll do it justice, all right? So, in no particular order, to my sister Lori, she chose saintly. Peggy chose nice. Mary, caring. Pat, selfless. Jack, special. Dennis, kind. I think it rubbed off on you, brother. To me, tolerant. Mike picked family. And to in-laws, we heard words like welcoming, gentle, protective, loyal, honest. And if you knew her, you knew that represented her really, really well. And, that's just a wonderful, wonderful human being that has all those attributes and gives them to us to learn and live by. Later in life, because she kept on ticking, no matter what illness was thrown her way, no matter how bad the doctor said she was, we kind of came to this name, which was the German tank. She just kept rolling as the hits kept hitting her, and she didn't care, and she defied the odds all this way. And speaking of kindness, and this is kind of, I had to ask, because when I was born, my mom was always working. The older brothers and sisters got to see her at home, changing diapers at age 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was probably Peggy doing that to the younger brothers and sisters. But I just thought she went to work all those hours because she needed to get away from 10 people. Craziness. But the reality of it was in 1962, this is a great story. My brother Dennis had some special schooling that he needed, right, Dennis? And back then, they didn't offer that. They didn't offer that in the public school systems. They didn't offer it locally. But the nuns, the Catholic nuns, said there's a great place in St. Louis. Maybe that's why we became Cardinal fans. I don't know the rest of the story. But in order to do that, it was very expensive. So speaking of selfless, while 8 kids were at home at the time, she went to work 40 full hours to pay for Dennis so Dennis could go on to be Bettner High School's first special ed grad in 1976 with my sister Mary. Lovey-dovey would not describe my mom. A lot of words would not describe my mom. That came from my dad. You know, you could hear my dad constantly. You know, through the encouragement or whatever else was coming, you knew he was in the room. My mom led through example. I'm going to tell you about those examples. But my brother Jack said it really nice the other day, Jack, when you said, where are you, Jack? Hey, bro.
Hey, bro.
He said, you know, I never really heard Mom walk in and like hug and say, I love you, it's going to be okay. But he goes, but I reflect back, and there was never a moment that we felt unloved. Never. She always had her back, and we always knew that she was there. She just wasn't going to do it in a warm and fuzzy way, and I don't know how I got warm and fuzzy, but maybe God gave me a little bit what the Germans couldn't get with Jack. But I think you nailed it, Jack. We never ever felt unloved, for sure. And you know, how did we? You know, I think back, like, how did we learn from all her teaching since she wasn't super vocal? She wasn't one to sit down and just give you a lesson and talk it out. And really all you did is have to watch her. And reflecting back more than ever, I'm like, man, I should have been paying more attention. But she did it through hard work, her work ethic, the jobs that she held. At some points in time, having 3 jobs. Think about this. You're raising kids. You get up in the morning. She never complained. She would get up at 6:30. She'd have to be over at the Arsenal by 8 o'clock. She would put her rollers, those hot rollers on the sink that I used to see her. She'd get up every day. And after that, on her lunch break, she'd go down to the tavern restaurant and help waitress. And then after that, she went back to the Arsenal. After that, she might run home, take something out of the crock pot, put it on the kitchen table. And then guess what? We had a restaurant. So if you have a bar and you have a restaurant, you can be working like crazy. Then she'd go down and she would waitress. Then after that, my dad gave her a cot in the back room so she could get some sleep. And when we weren't too busy, she could catch a 5-minute nap, which nobody did 5-minute naps better than my mom. She could master the 5-minute nap. And then at times she would stay there till closing time, till 1:30, so my dad could lock up and go home with them as a couple, go to bed and get up 4 hours later. We pale in comparison. We think Glynn's are hard workers. She set the bar, and nobody's been able to get over that bar that she set. I appreciate that. If you're Ted Lasso fans, which many of you guys might go, who's Ted Lasso? It's a great series on Apple. And Ted Lasso says, you know, he's a very positive person, but he always says, be curious, not judgmental. Be curious, not judgmental. What my mom taught us was she had opinions. There's no question she had opinions. But she taught us how not to be judgmental on those opinions. She never had any hatred in her bones. There's not a person that came through this line tonight that didn't say, your mom was wonderful. She was wonderful. No matter what was coming at her, no matter how things were, crashing around her in the craziness, I can't remember a time I ever heard my mom complain. And that is admirable. A lot of times people, always my whole life, they say, wait a minute, you're 10 kids? And the first question you have with 10 kids is they go, oh my God, how did your mom do it? And the second question, they come back and go, do you all get along? Do you like each other? And I'm like, we do. We don't talk to each other every day. Some of the sisters and brothers do. Some of us don't. We have our own lives. But I'm like, yeah, we actually root for each other every single day. And we have each other's back. And no matter what card game fight we get into, right, which we do a lot, the next day it's like nothing happened, right? No matter how, deep the argument is or the discussion is, we just let it go. And I think about that, like, why, how, were we lucky? Did God bless us with just, good tempers? No, Lori? Just kidding. But I think the quiet clue that we saw from my mom was y'all get in a car, right? And you're gonna go to a family reunion, you're gonna go somewhere. And today you all get in the car and go, oh, what do you think of that dinner? Or, why'd they serve that for graduation? In this society that we live in, sometimes we like to think about like something that didn't go well versus thinking that something did go well. I think the reason we all get along is we never ever heard our mom complain about anything. Anything, never. And certainly never her brothers, her sisters, her mom, her dad, her cousins. Never. So that was the bar that she set. And that's the reason we all get along, was that her tolerance and her love for her family, and then she demonstrated it by doing it all the time. Now imagine this. You are working your tail off and you just want a break, right? I saw my mom take one vacation a year for 3 days to go to St. Louis Cardinal games. That's it. That's it. But then imagine it's Christmas time and she opens her house up to 70 to 80 people. On top of that, like the one time it could maybe be quiet, no, we have to invite 70, 80 people in. And a lot of you in this room, you know, and maybe not family by blood, but you can see a John Kelser that my dad thought was blood, or Joe Collins, or other folks that my mom and dad brought into the house. And you know, that's special. Like, Lisa, you think you would do that? Right? No, Lisa. Ouch. You know and love you. Me and Lisa hosted Christmas. I know. I was just going there. We had 50 people there, routinely 60 people, 70 people, and you did a marvelous job.
Thank you.
But I don't know if I said, hey, I've got some friends down at the bar I'd like to bring in. And can they come over? We might draw the line there, but not Betty or my dad. So no matter how many people came into her life, if you knew her, you knew that she treated you like family, and we love that. We love that. Okay, couple more things. It has been asked, but not answered. Who's the favorite? Okay. So there's 10 of us. All right, and so I'm unveiling before she passed away. So, so in order from 1 to 10. I hope I don't offend anybody. You guys, can you handle it? You all good?
Yeah.
No matter where you're ranked?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1. Not even close. There's a landslide. Dennis Glynn. Okay. Number 2, and here's where the race gets really, really, really tight. Number 2, a 9-way tie for second. Yeah. You know, just a little bit about, you know, the way the ending came for my mom was, all things considered, it was a storybook ending. On Tuesday, after her 96th birthday, that Wednesday, she had fallen just the day before that. And like so many elderly people at that age, you can go quick if things go wrong. And she was starting her descent, you know, out of this life into heaven. And we were surrounded by her. Pat came up from Florida, Mike came down from Mason City, we came in from Chicago. And we had 8 of the living, you know, of her sons and daughters there. And, you know, I'll never forget this. She's sitting down at the card table. We're forcing her to play a game of pinochle, one last game of pinochle, right? And she heard Mary say, oh, you guys, let's just let Mama win. She's not doing great. Let's just let her win this last game. We're going to stack the deck. We're going to put the cards in order so she's going to have like this killer hand. And she goes, she heard us, and she goes, the Glyns don't play that way. right up to the very end. But we sensed that things were going south, so we sat around the table. We were able to like take her phone out, hold her hand, look her in the eye. And before we all said we love you, I said, Mom. We all were able to say this, Mom, look at me. And I got her to focus. I mean, she was going. And she looked me in the eye, and I said, and she was with it. She was with it. And I said, Mom, you are a great mom. And to Pat's adjective, she's selfless. I said, no, Mom, you're a great mom. I want you to know that. I want you to understand you are a great mom. And she goes, well, that's because I had great kids. Oh. And I said, no, because you're a great mom. Take the compliment, Mom. I don't know if she did, but we tried to get her to take that compliment. And then the storybook ending. When you're in hospice, and shout out to Clarissa C. Cook. Hopefully you never have to be there with loved ones, but you know, if you're going to donate anything, throw something their way, because that place is special. They do a fantastic job right here in Bettendorf, Iowa. And we're all home, and when you're in hospice, you don't know how it goes. You know, you're like, gosh, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Doctor said, you know, she's 96. She hit her head. She's fading fast. You know, could be 3 hours. You don't know. And you're looking and you're like, oh, I can't be more than one day. And then 1 day led to 2 days, 2 days led to 3 days. And we're all saying our goodbyes there. And multiple times we're playing her the music. And we're thinking like, okay, this is going to be it. So everybody would whisper in her ear, not Dennis, but we would whisper in her ear. We were like, Mom, it's okay, go to heaven. Lots of poker games ready. Dad's going to seat at the table, let's go. All of this, and you know, hospice workers say like, you know, maybe they just need to hear it's okay. Like it's okay to go to heaven. Like so, whisper in her ear. We were playing music, you know, Que Sera, Wonderful World, Jesus Loves Me. Yes, He does. Right, Dennis? Why? Because the Bible tells me so. That's right. Tells you so. That's right. And so we're all saying that, and yeah, she's. You know, so yep, the German tank survives another day, and then another day the German tanks. And I think I said my goodbyes 5 times, and like Shirley and Jack would stay the night, or Mary would stay the night. One night we had all 3 of us, and it wasn't the best night, you know, because it's a tough night sleeping through some of that. But she just wouldn't give up. She kept fighting, and you know, we wanted her to go. You know, she was ready. We thought she was ready, but she really wasn't. And I'm thinking, why, man? Like, we've said our goodbyes, but Dennis had not said his goodbyes. He was saying, because you know Dennis, he's an optimist. He's saying, we should be praying for a miracle. We should be praying for a miracle. Mom can turn this around. And Mary, right? You had to say, Dennis, God can do a lot of things, but right now it's probably time for God to take her up to heaven. And the very last night, this is factual, so fact check me. Mary told me nobody would fact check me, but Glynn's kind of exaggerated a little bit. But Dennis, on the very last night, Monday at about 9:45, me, Dennis, Peggy left. Jack and Mary were going to spend the night. And I said my goodbyes for the 5th time. She's not listening again. And then Dennis, instead of leaning over and praying for her to stay on earth and to get better. Remember what you said? Mom, right? I want you to pass tonight. Remember that? Okay, Mom, I want you to pass. And Dennis, Peggy, and I get in the car, and we drive 1.2 miles to my sister's house. And her number 1 son, she needed to hear from, that he's ready for her to go to heaven. And he said, be with Dad. And I believe he heard you. She heard you. And that was her last act of love for you, Dennis. Is knowing that you were ready, right? Yep. So yay for Dennis. Closing up. How's the over-under doing? Am I doing all right?
Way over.
Somebody had 38 minutes, so I think I'm crushing that. All right, so this lady was an angel. This lady gave so much of her life to her children. She showed us with her actions. She was a matriarch, and that's the sad part. All of us in here, a lot of our parents aren't here, and they raised us in Bettendorf in this great community, some in Davenport, which is secondarily great to Bettendorf. With that.
Hear that, Beth?
Yeah, but she did it the right way, and I think if she would ask, if she would have been able to say, I have a few asks, because she was selfless. So she would never do that. But if she would bring herself to, for one day, be a little selfish, I think it would go like this. I think she would say, this goes for everybody in this room, not just the Glynns. I think she would say, my ask is for you to stay connected. I think she'd say, be tolerant. I think she'd say, be kind. I think she'd say, be nice. I think she would say, do not judge. I would say, she would say, Peggy, keep those Wednesday night dinner drop-ins. I think the Sundays would work too, Peggy. I think she would say, keep those pinochle games and don't take it easy on anybody if it's their birthday or not. If they're 96 or not, bring the heat. And I think she would just want to remind everybody that she loved everybody that she came in contact with. She's a great example. I think she would tell you to go home and listen to It's a Wonderful World. And with that, I'll close. I love you, Mom. Thank you.